What if everything you've been taught about reality, about who you are, what you're capable of, and how the world operates, was only a fragment of a much greater truth? What if the version of life you've been handed, the map you've been following, was drawn with missing pieces? Imagine for a moment that the power to transform your life, to master your mind, and to unlock a reality beyond your current imagination has always been within reach, not in some distant monastery or ancient scroll buried in sand, but hidden in plain sight, woven into symbols, whispered through philosophies, encoded in stories and teachings that humanity once held sacred and slowly forgot. This isn't a fantasy. It's not wishful thinking or some esoteric bedtime story. It's real, more real than most of the things we're taught to believe. This wisdom has echoed across civilizations, whispered through the lips of mystics and sages from ancient Egypt to the temples of Greece, from Eastern monasteries to the hidden libraries of the West. And at the center of it all lies a simple, powerful revelation. Reality is not something you merely observe, it's something you create. Take a moment to really feel the weight of that. The world you wake up in each day, the people you interact with, the struggles you face, the joy you experience, the limitations you bump up against, they aren't just happening to you. They are flowing from you. Not consciously, not always deliberately, but through the energy of your beliefs, your expectations, your thoughts. There's a deeper architecture beneath everything we call life. A set of laws not written by humans, but embedded in the very nature of the universe. These are the true laws, the ones that shape energy, govern thought, and guide transformation. Unlike man-made laws, which come and go with time and politics, these principles are timeless. Eternal, they don't just describe the universe, they form its foundation. And they are not locked away in mystery. In fact, they've been accessible all along, known as the 7 Hermetic Principles, a blueprint not only for understanding the cosmos, but for mastering your own experience within it. These principles offer more than just insight, they offer power. Because once you understand how the universe works, you begin to understand how you work. You realize that the boundaries you thought were set in stone are actually more like suggestions. The obstacles you thought were immovable are only as real as the meaning you give them. And the life you think you're stuck with? It's far more malleable than you've ever been told. Maybe you felt it. That quiet pull. That voice in the back of your mind that says, there's more than this. Maybe you've looked around at your job, your relationships, your routines, and felt the ache of something greater, just out of reach. Maybe you've sensed that you're meant for more. That life could be richer, deeper, more aligned. That you have power you haven't fully claimed yet. You're not wrong. That feeling, that nudge from the inside, it's not your imagination. It's not ego. It's not delusion. It's the call of ancient wisdom surfacing within you. It's the first flicker of truth cracking through the surface of everything you've been conditioned to believe. And it all begins with one principle. The first, the most foundational, and the one that redefines your experience from the ground up. Mentalism. Mentalism tells us that everything begins with mind. That the universe itself is mental in nature. That everything, from the vast swirl of galaxies to the steam rising from your morning coffee, originates as a thought. This isn't metaphor. This isn't just poetic language. It's literal. The universe is conscious. Reality is not a dead machine grinding out random events. It is a living, breathing, pulsing expression of thought, of awareness, of mind. And here's the wild part. Your mind is not separate from it. You are not a powerless observer watching life unfold. You are the screenwriter, the director, the main character. What you think and feel and expect isn't just internal, it shapes the world you walk through. Think about that. Every invention that's ever reshaped the world, every piece of art that's touched millions, every movement that's shifted history, they all began as invisible sparks in someone's mind. A thought, a possibility, a whisper of what if that eventually became what is. That same spark exists in you right now. It always has. But mentalism isn't just about world-changing revolutions. It's about the intimate details of your life, your relationships, your confidence, your health, your joy. All of these are influenced, consciously or unconsciously, by the mental blueprint you carry within. The story you tell yourself becomes the life you live. If your inner world is foggy, chaotic, filled with fear or limitation, your outer world reflects that. But when your mind becomes clear, focused, and aligned with your deeper truth, everything begins to shift. Modern science is finally catching up. Quantum physics has shown that the very act of observation changes the behavior of particles. That matter itself is affected by consciousness. In other words, reality responds to awareness. This ancient principle, taught thousands of years ago, is now being confirmed by cutting-edge experiments. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your inner state, they matter. They shape matter. This changes everything. You are not a victim of fate. You are not at the mercy of your past, your parents, your paycheck, or your problems. You are the architect of your reality, not in some symbolic way, but literally. Your mind is the gateway to creation. It's the canvas on which your life is painted. And every belief, every emotion, every word you speak is a brushstroke. But here's the secret that most people miss. It's not enough to know this. Power doesn't come from information. It comes from embodiment, from practice, from turning knowledge into lived experience. You can read about the mind's power all day, but until you align your daily thoughts, emotions, and actions with that truth, nothing changes. So how do you do it? You start by becoming aware, by noticing the internal dialogue running on repeat, the beliefs you've inherited without questioning, the stories you tell yourself when no one's listening. You begin to challenge the patterns that don't serve you. You catch yourself when you spiral into fear, doubt, or scarcity, and you gently guide your mind toward clarity, toward truth, toward possibility. Visualization becomes a powerful tool. You begin to see the future you desire, not as a fantasy, but as something real, tangible, already unfolding. You speak affirmations not as empty phrases, but as declarations of your becoming. You sit in stillness, breathing life into the vision you carry inside. Slowly, steadily, your mental blueprint begins to shift. And as it does, so does everything around you. This isn't magic, it's alignment. Because the universe is already responding to you. It always has been. Every thought you think sends out a signal. Every belief you hold becomes a lens through which you perceive and shape reality. When you tune into the frequency of abundance, joy, love, purpose, those experiences begin to echo back to you. You don't have to chase them. You become a match for them. And that's when the magic starts to feel effortless. But make no mistake, this isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's not about ignoring pain or slapping positivity over real wounds. It's about reclaiming your role as a conscious creator. It's about understanding that no matter what's happened in your past, you hold the power to choose your present and shape your future. You can meet pain with presence. You can meet fear with awareness. And in doing so, you transmute them. You rewrite the script. This is what the Hermetic teachings have always pointed to. Not blind belief, not superstition, but mastery, sovereignty, awakening. You are not here to survive. You are not here to fit in or play small. You are here to remember your power, to remember your purpose, to remember that the mind is not just a byproduct of the brain, but a sacred force that co-creates with the universe itself. So when the world feels loud, When doubt creeps in, when you feel disconnected, pause. Breathe. Return to this truth. All is mind, and you are part of that mind. You are not separate. You are not small. You are vast. You are powerful. You are already shaping reality, whether you realize it or not. The question is no longer if you're creating, it's how. Are you creating unconsciously, on autopilot, from fear and conditioning? Or are you creating intentionally, from clarity, love, and vision? The choice is yours. It always has been. And this is just the beginning. Understanding the principle of polarity can change the way you experience life. It's not just a concept. It's a shift in perception, a subtle but profound way of seeing the world. When you begin to understand that opposites are not separate enemies, but interconnected forces, you unlock the ability to reframe even the most painful experiences into opportunities for growth. Think about something as simple as heat and cold. We often speak about them as two different things, but they're not. They're simply different expressions of the same energy. There's no sharp divide where warmth suddenly becomes cold. It's a smooth transition, a gradient. And this principle applies just as much to our inner world as it does to physical phenomena. Emotions, too, exist on spectrums. Take love and hate, for example. On the surface, they appear worlds apart, antagonistic, even. But look deeper, and you'll see they are merely polar expressions of the same emotional current. The intensity of your hate can only exist because of how deeply you once loved. The two feelings coexist in potential, bound to the same energetic thread. This is the wisdom of polarity. It shows us that nothing is isolated. Everything exists in relationship to its opposite, and often, the presence of one reveals the depth of the other. This idea can be incredibly empowering. Consider how many times you've looked back at something you once saw as a failure. In the moment, it may have devastated you, made you feel small, incapable, or defeated. But give it time, distance, reflection, and that same failure may now seem like the exact turning point that led you to your greatest success. It became the fuel that drove you, the lesson that refined you. That's because success and failure aren't mutually exclusive. They're partners in progress, two poles on the same path. When you embrace this truth, your entire experience of life changes. You begin to see that nothing is wasted, not even the worst moments. Pain becomes meaningful. Loss becomes transformative. Struggles become stepping stones. You start to approach challenges not with dread, but with curiosity. What can this teach me? Where will this lead? It's not about pretending hardship is easy. It's about knowing it's part of a larger cycle, and that cycle moves. Always. This is where emotional alchemy begins. You stop seeing emotions as static or inescapable. You start to notice that every emotional state carries within it the seed of its opposite. Anger, when acknowledged and not suppressed, can shift into passion or clarity. Fear, when faced, often dissolves into courage. Despair can deepen into hope. It doesn't happen by force, it happens through awareness. You realize you're not stuck, you're in motion. And motion is power. This doesn't mean we deny difficult emotions or gloss over pain. It means we understand they aren't destinations, they're stages, points on a continuum. And that realization gives you agency. You don't have to live at one end of the spectrum. You can move, evolve, rise. You can shift the dial. So ask yourself, where in your life are you stuck at one pole? Are you clinging to joy so tightly that you fear sorrow? Are you rejecting sadness so fiercely that you can't fully experience happiness? Balance doesn't come from eliminating one side. It comes from welcoming both. A person who numbs their sadness will struggle to feel joy in its fullness. Someone who avoids failure will limit their potential for success. Mastery, real mastery, lies in the willingness to embrace the entire spectrum of life. Look at your relationships. Every deep connection brings joy and love, but also moments of misunderstanding, hurt, or conflict. That's not a flaw in the relationship, it's a feature. To love is to open yourself to the full range of feeling. And when you stop trying to live only in the positive, you gain something far more valuable: depth, compassion, understanding. You learn to navigate not just the highs, but also the lows with grace, and that makes your relationships richer, more authentic. The same applies to your thoughts. Your mindset is the lens through which you experience life. If you view a setback as a dead end, that's how it will feel. But if you see it as the start of something new, a redirection, not a rejection, it transforms. Your interpretation becomes your reality. That's the power of perception. By choosing your perspective, you move along the spectrum, from powerlessness to empowerment, from hopelessness to inspired action. And here's the truth that's both humbling and liberating. The principle of polarity lives in everything, including you. Your strengths and your flaws. They're not separate. They're interconnected. The same vulnerability that makes you sensitive is also what makes you deeply empathetic. The same fear that tries to hold you back can become the very fuel for your courage. When you stop rejecting parts of yourself and start integrating them, you become whole. Not perfect whole. Now imagine combining polarity with another universal law, the principle of rhythm. Life, at its core, is motion. A dance, a tide. Everything flows in and out. Nothing stays the same. The sun rises and sets. Seasons change. Oceans ebb and flow. Even your body knows this. Your breath, your heartbeat, your sleep cycles all follow rhythm. And the same is true for your emotions, your relationships, your creativity. We often struggle not because things are changing, but because we resist the change. We cling to the high points, trying to make them last forever. Or we fight against the low points, desperately trying to escape. But rhythm doesn't care about our resistance. It moves regardless. The more you fight the tide, the more you suffer. The moment you learn to ride it, you find peace. Have you ever experienced a period in life where everything felt aligned, effortless, full of momentum, and then suddenly everything slowed down? It's not because you failed or lost your touch. It's rhythm. It's the natural cycle of contraction after expansion. Life flows in waves. Sometimes you're riding the crest. Other times you're in the trough. Both are necessary. The low points allow for rest, reflection, and renewal. They prepare you for the next rise. Personal growth, too, follows this rhythm. It rarely happens in a straight, predictable line. You'll have breakthroughs and then setbacks. Moments of clarity followed by confusion. That's not regression, it's rhythm. Even when it feels like you're going backward, you're being prepared for the next surge forward. Recognizing this helps you be kinder to yourself, more patient, more trusting in the process. Start paying attention to your own rhythm. Notice when you feel most energized, most creative, most connected. Work with those natural flows instead of pushing against them. Let the rhythm of your life guide your pace. That's not laziness, that's wisdom. And when your relationships go through moments of distance or disconnection, don't panic. It's the tide going out. Trust that it will return, often with greater depth and intimacy than before. And then, layered through it all, is the principle of cause and effect. Perhaps the most empowering truth of all. Nothing happens by accident. Every effect has a cause. Every cause creates an effect. The universe is not random, it's responsive. Your life is not just happening to you, it's responding to you. Your thoughts, your words, your choices, they're shaping your experience every single day. Look at your life and the patterns within it. Are there recurring challenges or dynamics that seem to follow you? Maybe you attract the same types of relationships, face the same internal battles. That's not just bad luck. It's the ripple of past causes coming into form. But don't mistake this for blame. It's power. Because if you created this reality, you can create a new one. You're not stuck. You're just in a pattern. And patterns can be rewritten. Cause and effect reminds us that our smallest actions matter. Smile at someone, and you might lift their entire day. Speak harshly in a moment of stress, and it may cause pain that echoes. These are not minor events, they're seeds. And the same is true internally. Your thoughts are causes. Your emotions are effects. And your emotions then cause actions. It's all connected. Want to transform your life? Start by becoming mindful of the causes you're setting into motion. Are your habits aligned with the future you want? Are your beliefs supporting or sabotaging you? Are your words building or breaking the connections you value most? Even if the results aren't immediate, the effects are already underway. Trust the process. Like planting a seed, growth takes time. Just because you can't see the tree yet doesn't mean it's not coming. And here's the kicker. Cause and effect works whether you believe in it or not. It's like gravity. You don't have to understand it for it to pull you down. The law is always active. The only question is whether you'll be a passive participant in your life or a conscious creator. When you bring these principles together, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, you begin to live in alignment with the deeper laws of reality. You stop fighting life. You start flowing with it. You embrace the highs without fearing the lows. You take responsibility without blame. You move with the tides instead of drowning in them. This is the foundation of real transformation. Not escaping reality, but understanding it. Not controlling everything, but co-creating with the universe. Every moment is an invitation to choose. Every thought, a building block. Every emotion, a signpost. Every challenge, a doorway. And behind it all, a current pulling you not away from yourself, but toward your becoming. So the next time life feels hard or uncertain, remember, you're not lost. You're in a cycle. You're on a spectrum. You're part of a rhythm. And you are more powerful than you know. The Hermetic principle of gender is often misunderstood. At first glance, it might seem like it's talking about biological sex or cultural notions of masculinity and femininity. But in truth, this principle speaks to something far more profound. It refers to the two creative forces that flow through everything in existence, energies we might call masculine and feminine, not as genders, but as archetypal powers. These are the twin flames of creation, dancing in balance to shape all aspects of life. They are not opposites, nor are they at war. They are complements, eternally intertwined, and when harmonized within us, they unlock our highest potential. Everything in the universe carries both of these energies. This isn't just a poetic metaphor. It's a deep truth you can see reflected in nature, in art, in relationships, and within yourself. Masculine energy represents action, structure, direction. It's the spark that ignites, the momentum that drives forward, the clarity that slices through chaos. Feminine energy, on the other hand, is receptive, intuitive, nurturing. It's the fertile ground, the unseen current, the quiet voice that knows without needing to explain. Creation itself arises when these two forces come together, when the spark meets the soil, when the idea finds form, when the dream is met with action. You don't have to look far to see this principle in motion. Consider a seed being planted in the earth. The seed holds the blueprint, its focus contained, purposeful, masculine. But it needs the softness, the nourishment, the receiving nature of the soil, the feminine, to grow. Alone, the seed would dry out. Alone, the soil remains potential unrealized. Together, they bring forth life. The same is true of a painting. The structure, the frame, the sketch, these are masculine. The color, the flow, the emotion poured into the brushstrokes, those are feminine. Together, they produce beauty. Now, bring this into your own experience. Maybe you're someone who's always on the go, chasing goals, crossing off to-do lists, striving and pushing and building. That's your masculine energy doing its job. But if you never pause to reflect, to check in with your intuition, to rest or receive guidance, you can easily become burned out, disconnected, rigid. Or maybe you're someone who loves to dream and reflect. You can feel deeply, imagine endlessly, and connect with people on a soul level. That's your feminine energy in motion. But without the fire to act, without taking steps or setting boundaries, your dreams may stay just that, dreams. This is where the Hermetic principle of gender becomes truly powerful. It reminds us that both energies exist within us, and both are essential. They are not traits reserved for men or women. Every human being, regardless of gender identity, carries within them the capacity to initiate and to nurture, to plan and to receive, to act boldly and to listen deeply. Mastery of life comes when you learn to integrate these forces, letting them work together in harmony rather than in opposition. But balance doesn't happen by accident. It takes awareness. Many of us lean heavily into one energy without realizing it. Society, especially in the modern world, tends to glorify the masculine. Productivity, control, logic, competition, dominance. These traits are rewarded, praised, and seen as signs of strength. Meanwhile, the feminine traits, receptivity, rest, emotion, creativity, softness, are often undervalued or misunderstood. As a result, we end up with a collective imbalance. People feel disconnected from their hearts, from each other, and from the natural rhythms of life. This isn't to say the masculine is the problem. Far from it. The issue is the imbalance, the overemphasis on one energy while neglecting the other. Imagine a life built entirely on action and logic, with no time for reflection or emotional connection. It might look impressive from the outside, but it would feel hollow, mechanical, joyless. Now imagine a life full of creativity and emotion, but without discipline or follow-through. It might feel deeply alive for a while, but soon it becomes scattered, lost, and stuck in potential. Neither extreme is sustainable. The key is in the dance, the give and take, the inhale and the exhale. Start by observing yourself. Notice your patterns. Do you constantly push yourself, ignoring your body's signals to slow down and recharge? That's masculine energy out of balance. Or do you find yourself waiting for the perfect moment, always preparing but never acting? That's feminine energy needing the fire of action. Becoming aware of these tendencies is the first step toward creating harmony. Once you see the imbalance, you can start shifting consciously. If you notice you're always in motion, always doing, try carving out space for stillness. Meditate. Journal. Create something just for the joy of it. Let yourself feel without needing to fix. Let your intuition speak without drowning it in logic. On the other hand, if you feel stuck in reflection or emotional overwhelm, choose one clear goal and take a small, decisive step. Action breeds clarity. Confidence comes from momentum. Let your inner masculine rise up to support your vision. This principle also shows up vividly in relationships. The most fulfilling partnerships aren't built on sameness. They thrive on polarity, on dynamic interplay. When one person's strength and intuition meets the other's strength and direction, a beautiful flow is created. But both people must also be balanced within themselves. Otherwise, relationships become codependent, with one person overfunctioning and the other underfunctioning. True connection arises when each person brings their unique blend of energies and respects the others. On a deeper, spiritual level, the principle of gender reminds us that these energies aren't just psychological, they are cosmic. They exist in the cycles of the moon, the tides of the ocean, the orbits of the planets. They are written into the very structure of the universe. When you align yourself with these forces, when you stop fighting one part of yourself and start listening to both, you tap into the universal creative current. You become not just a participant in life, but a conscious co-creator. This process begins with small shifts. In any moment where you feel out of sync, ask yourself, what energy is needed right now? If you're spinning your wheels in burnout, maybe you need to rest, to receive, to trust that things can unfold without force. If you're swirling in indecision, maybe it's time to ground yourself, to choose, to move. Life will always tilt back and forth, but your awareness is the anchor. Balance doesn't mean perfect symmetry, it means fluidity. The ability to shift with grace, to adjust, to come back to center again and again. As you explore this principle, you may start to notice its connection to the other Hermetic laws. They all weave together like threads in a tapestry. Mentalism teaches that the universe is mind, that your thoughts shape your reality. Correspondence reminds you that your outer world reflects your inner world. Vibration teaches that everything is energy, and you are always broadcasting a frequency. Polarity shows you that opposites are two ends of the same spectrum, and that you can always move between them. Rhythm teaches that life moves in cycles: expansion, contraction, rest, rise. Cause and effect reveals that nothing happens by chance. Your choices ripple outward to shape your destiny. When you live in alignment with these principles, not as abstract ideas, but as daily practices, your life begins to change. You become more grounded, more attuned, more empowered. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop resisting and start flowing. You stop trying to control everything and start co-creating with the universe. The principle of gender, at its core, is an invitation. It invites you to embrace all of who you are, to honor your strength and your sensitivity, your ability to build and your capacity to feel, your drive to move forward and your need to sit still. You are not just one thing. You are a paradox, a harmony, a powerful blend of fire and water, sun and moon, thought and emotion. You are the container and the current. And when you stop choosing sides, when you bring all parts of yourself to the table, you become whole. So, what will you create when you live from that wholeness? What ideas are waiting for your structure? What dreams are longing for your action? What part of yourself have you been ignoring that's quietly calling for attention? The Hermetic laws are not dusty teachings from the past. They are living truths, here to guide you back to yourself, to help you walk with clarity, lead with integrity, create with purpose, and love with depth. Let this principle awaken something in you. Let it soften you where you've been too hard. Let it strengthen you where you felt unsure. And above all, let it remind you, you are both the spark and the soil. You are both the question and the answer. And from that place, anything is possible. There comes a moment on every seeker's journey when the wisdom of the universe stops feeling like something out there and begins to resonate from within. It's no longer about reading spiritual texts or quoting ancient teachings. It's about living them, feeling them in your bones. This is where the seventh Hermetic principle, gender, quietly steps in, asking you to look inward and examine the balance of energies that shape your experience. Not just masculine or feminine in the physical sense, but the deeper, energetic qualities they represent: action and reflection, doing and being, strength and softness. In a world that glorifies the hustle, the grind, the push forward at all costs, gender reminds us that the ability to pause, to reflect, to feel is equally powerful. Think about your own life for a moment. Are you always on the go, constantly chasing the next task, achievement, or validation, without giving yourself time to breathe, to simply be? Or have you been stuck in a cycle of overthinking, afraid to move, endlessly waiting for the right moment to act? We all fall into one extreme or the other sometimes. The key is not to choose sides, but to learn how to dance between them. When masculine and feminine energies are in harmony within you, you don't just move through life, you flow with it. You act with purpose and reflect with clarity. You create, not from chaos, but from centeredness. This is the balance gender calls you to embrace. Now, imagine a day where your mind is calm and focused, your actions intentional, your inner world in sync with your outer reality. You wake up not overwhelmed or anxious, but with a quiet sense of purpose. You're no longer pushing against the current of life, but flowing with it. Even the challenges that arise don't shake you as they once did. They become part of the rhythm, part of the growth. Why? Because you've begun to see the underlying structure of reality, the 7 Hermetic principles, at work in everything. You've started to live in alignment with them, not just intellectually, but experientially. You're not escaping life. You're finally stepping into it fully. But here's the truth. Transformation doesn't require you to change everything overnight. In fact, it's often the small shifts, the subtle realizations, that spark the most powerful awakenings. Start by paying attention to how these principles already show up in your daily life. Notice the patterns. Reflect on the moments when everything feels aligned and the moments when you feel off-center. Slowly, you'll begin to see where the imbalance lies and where your energy wants to go. Over time, what once felt confusing or random starts to make sense. You begin to recognize the deeper rhythm underneath the noise. And once you feel that rhythm, everything changes. This journey isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's about waking up to the truth that has always been inside you. The Hermetic principles aren't just clever ideas. They're universal truths that illuminate how life really works. Mentalism shows you that your thoughts shape your reality. Correspondence reveals the connection between the micro and the macro, the inner and the outer. Vibration reminds you that energy is everything, and that you have the power to shift your own frequency. Polarity helps you embrace contrast and find growth in opposition. Rhythm teaches you to trust the ebb and flow, the highs and the lows. Cause and effect makes it clear that your choices ripple outward in ways you may not even realize. And gender brings it all together by helping you embody both power and presence, action and intuition. When you begin to live with this awareness, something profound happens. The illusion of randomness starts to dissolve. You see that life isn't just a chaotic series of disconnected events. It's a beautifully orchestrated dance, and you're an integral part of it. You're not just in the world, you're shaping it, moment by moment, through your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, your choices. You've felt this before, haven't you? Those moments when everything just seemed to fall into place, when the right opportunity showed up at the perfect time, when things just worked out. Those aren't coincidences. Those are glimpses of the Hermetic laws in action, cause and effect, rhythm, correspondence, aligning around your intention. But awakening to this truth is not always easy. In fact, it often begins by confronting what's been holding you back. You have to ask yourself, have I been living on autopilot? Have I let fear, doubt, or old patterns run the show? Have I been waiting for permission to step into my power? The Hermetic principles shine a light on those hidden corners of your mind. They ask you to take radical responsibility for your life, not as a burden, but as a liberation. Because once you understand that your reality is shaped by your own thoughts and actions, you reclaim your creative power. And that's where real transformation begins. Yes, it's a bit daunting at first, to look at your life and admit that you are the architect of it all. But it's also the most empowering truth you'll ever embrace. The principle of cause and effect doesn't punish, it teaches. It shows you that every step you take, every intention you set, every thought you entertain, sets something in motion. When you start aligning those intentions with your highest self, the universe doesn't resist you, it responds to you. That's not just philosophy. That's reality. And it's waiting for you to participate in it consciously. Look to nature, and you'll see it too. The ebb and flow of the tides, the balance of ecosystems, the cycle of the seasons, these are not random. They are reflections of the Hermetic laws in motion. The rising and falling of energy, the contrast between light and shadow, growth and rest, action and stillness, it's all there, speaking to you. The more you observe, the more you understand how to live in alignment with the natural order. Life isn't meant to be a battle. It's meant to be a rhythm, a song. And you're not just a listener, you're a part of the music itself. What's even more beautiful is that your awakening doesn't stop with you. As you begin to embody these truths, you become a mirror for others. Your peace becomes contagious. Your clarity becomes an invitation. Your presence becomes a ripple that gently nudges the people around you to awaken too. This is how transformation spreads, not through force or persuasion, but through embodiment. Through being the living proof that it's possible to live with intention, balance, and authenticity. Understanding the laws is one thing, but living them? That's where your power truly ignites. Each principle invites you not just to learn, but to evolve. Mentalism asks you to master your inner world. Correspondence teaches you to see the patterns that link your mind, your body, and the world around you. Vibration challenges you to raise your frequency, to be deliberate about the energy you carry. Polarity opens your heart to contrast, not as a curse, but as a catalyst. Rhythm shows you how to dance with change instead of resisting it. Cause and effect reminds you to act with integrity, knowing every moment counts. And gender, the final piece, calls you to blend intuition and action into a life that feels whole. When you live in alignment with these principles, your life begins to transform from the inside out. You stop chasing success and start attracting alignment. You stop fearing obstacles and start seeing them as teachers. You no longer feel like you're surviving life, you feel like you're co-creating it. And that, perhaps, is the greatest gift of all. To wake up every day knowing that you are not a bystander in your story. You are both the writer and the character, the artist and the masterpiece. That's the heart of the awakening. Not a momentary flash of insight, but a continuous unfolding, a deepening into truth. Every day is a new opportunity to align more fully, to listen more deeply, to act more intentionally. Over time, it becomes second nature. You don't have to try to live by the laws. They simply become the way you are. You begin to live with grace, not because life is perfect, but because you are aligned with something deeper, something timeless. And this journey doesn't have to be walked alone. That's why we created Insights Academy, a space for seekers, dreamers, and creators who are ready to go deeper. Our free newsletter is your companion on this path, offering timeless teachings, practical insights, and powerful tools to help you embody the Hermetic principles in real, transformative ways. Every week, you'll receive messages that speak to your soul, challenge your thinking, and inspire your growth. As a gift, when you join, you'll receive a free digital copy of the Kybalion, the foundational text of Hermetic philosophy. These teachings were once hidden, passed down in whispers, but now they're available to you, ready to unlock the next level of your journey. All it takes is a single step. Click the link, enter your email, and join a community of awakened minds who are shaping their reality with clarity, courage, and intention. You've come this far for a reason. The universe is always offering signs, nudging you toward your purpose. This is one of them. Will you answer the call? Will you choose to step into alignment, to embrace your creative power, and to live the life you were always meant to? The Hermetic Laws are not here to control you. They're here to liberate you. They don't promise a life without challenge, but they offer a path to face those challenges with wisdom, grace, and strength. So, what will you create next? The answer isn't out there. It's already within you.